Hello, everybody. It's me, Remy the Comic Book Poser, and I'm here to welcome you to Enter the Poserverse. If I look more disheveled than I usually do, or pretty tired and haggard, it's because it's 12:33 on a Sunday morning, and I'm trying to record some of these videos before I have one of the most chaotic weeks of my year. So I wanted to give you my definitive rankings from all of the books that came out on June 10th. This was a huge week for me for comics, that it felt normal that I picked up 17 of the 18 books that I intended to grab. Normally I will give you, my top 5 books, and I will deem one book the pick of the week, but of the 6 books that I have to show you that are on the stack right now, these were my 6 favorite books of the week that I think all of them are certified solid books that I think if for some reason you have not picked them up or you have not read them yet, you should do it because they're good. Coming in at number 6 is Daredevil number 20. This is the only Marvel book, let alone the only book from the big 2 that make it on the list this week. So the book is by Chip Zdarsky, and then this has been the artist who's been on the book for the most of this run, and I have to look at the first name because I'm bad at names, and I'm also have been up for 20 hours. Marco Checchetto. So this is the second part of the Inferno arc where shit's going down in Hell's Kitchen, and it's time for things to slowly get resolved. I loved this book because of all of the chaos that had gone down, that I feel like Zdarsky offers a very good way to slowly wrap things up, that you see several alliances arrive in this book that you may not expect to see. Some of these people fighting side by side, and one of them is what you see on the cover, is Kingpin and Daredevil fighting alongside one another to kind of take control back of the kitchen. But I also think this book is particularly good in terms of the art. So what I've opened it up is this Typhoid Mary. Typhoid Mary comes into the frame. She awakes from the church to go out and fight, and since this is one big action-packed ass-kicking book, I think the artist and the colorist deliver as hard as Zdarsky does on the story. But here's a copy of, or a shot of, some of the images where you see Kingpin and Daredevil fighting side by side, because they are unlikely allies in this instance, since they had been antagonizing one another for most of this run, but they're coming together in this instance to reclaim the kitchen from mutual enemies. So Kingpin and Daredevil working together against the Owl and the other outside forces is definitely a enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of instance. So I loved this book. I have been big on what Zdarsky has done on Daredevil since I stumbled onto the run at the suggestion of the folks of my LCS, and I can't wait to see what they're going to do on this book in the future. Coming in at number 5, Undiscovered Country number 6. So it's Scott Snyder, Charles Soule, and then a bunch of other folks who are super creatively talented throughout this book. That this book has been a wild ride for me in terms of looking at the jumping through times, the jumping through different areas, and as this book is, I believe, the conclusion of the first arc, it's good to see some finality to some of it. So what you've got going on in this book is, do our heroes and Uncle Sam, are they able to successfully flee Destiny Man and make it through the next gate to work their way out of the United States of America, or to the next part of the United States? what I really love from these couple of panels is seeing a space shuttle tied to either a hot air balloon, a blimp, or a Zeppelin, which I thought was kind of cool to see its play its way out in this book, that you're seeing a lot of like race against the clock or race against time to get to the gate. You know, I have been a big fan of Destiny Man because he seems to be able to accessorize the right horns for the right moment in the book, but I think this was fantastic. The other reason why I really, really enjoyed this book are the final 2 essays from Snyder and Soule in the back of the book, that it's not been uncommon to see the 2 of them kind of add some back matter to each of these books. But this was the first book that I've seen where people are actively mentioning how kind of COVID has impacted their creative process. So it was kind of cool to see those 2 folks kind of dialogue through that process and its impact on the book. Coming in at number 4 is Aftershocks Artemis and the Assassin number 2 by Stephanie Phillips, Megan Hetrick, and Francesca Fantini. I really liked the idea of this book when it came out, because you're seeing a woman kind of hop a little bit through time into some famous rebellions. Early in the book, we kind of discover why our primary heroine has only one good functional leg and a prosthetic leg, and it's because of an injury she sustained when playing with some boys, and you know that she gets described as a poor invalid who may never be able to function. But here we start to get some backstory between the potential assassin who is there to take down our heroine, with, you know, the knowledge that she is being hunted and being the target, but with no explanation as to why. And then, you know, they kind of have to fight around a Nazi incursion upon the French camp that we meet at the beginning. And it's just really intriguing. The art in this book is really good. I'm trying to secure a interview with Francesca Fantini. So I love what's happening in this book. I think the first 2 that have come out kind of really piqued my interest in terms of looking at some of the potential time hopping or the longitudinal impact of these characters, and it just makes me crave more and want to read more. And I'm excited to be able to ask some questions of Francesca in terms of what the art process looks like in a lot of this book. Coming in at number 4 is another Aftershock title. This is Zach Kaplan and Kowalski and Simpson and Hassan Otame Elu on Join the Future number 2. I think this book is pretty dope. That, like I said in the written review, I didn't initially pull number 1, that it was up to the recommendation of the owner from my LCS to kind of pick up this book. And you're seeing kind of a small, you know, dusty kind of village take on a large, sprawling kind of utopic city, and you're wondering why the battle exists between the 2 of them, and why one person in the character of Clem is kind of deciding to resist joining the future, and you're left asking a lot of why the city or the village, you know, the future that they are resisting, why it's coming after them. You start to see some elements of like terraforming of land when it's been seized by the futuristic city, but with no explanation as to why. My, you know, top 2 picks of the week, if you've read anything that I've done, are of zero surprise to you whatsoever. Coming in at number 2 is Something is Killing the Children, number 7. This book from top to bottom is fan-fucking-tastic. From the story that Tinian is putting together in the beginning of the 2nd arc of what happens with the child monsters that we meet, who is coming from the House Slaughter to punish Erica for what she has done in Archer Falls. I think, you know, Werther Dell'Edera's art in this book is fantastic, and I'm just going to flip to a random spread. But really what I think successfully sells the mood of this book is the color palette that's added by Miquel Muerto, that I think, you know, seeing an artist and a colorist jive together is fantastic. And this book has been nominated for a couple of Eisners, and it's very evident as to why. The story is amazing, the art is fantastic, the colors are on point, and I think this may be my pick to win the new series of the year Eisner. And then, if I let myself say anything other than Philadelphia #6 came in at my top book in terms of picks from this week, then you should just drag me into an alley and kick my own ass. That Barnes, Alexander, and Luis NCT just deliver on this book, that you see, all of our primary players in terms of the teams, each led by the father and the son, kind of taking on Adams's raid of Philadelphia, seeing the character of Tevin begin to kind of recognize his own power as good, starting to see the potential rise in the menacing nature of Abigail Adams, which we've gotten little tastes of throughout this book, really becomes super powerful and super evident throughout the end of the first story arc, and makes me really, really intrigued to pick up the trade. The trade comes out, I think, in early July, and I don't know if I will blindly buy the trade just because I've loved everything that Barnes has done and Alexander and NCT has done on this arc, or if I'm going to look for some kind of back matter morsels to figure out what's going to drive the next arc in book 7, which comes out, I believe, in August. But those are my picks of the week, right? Of the 17 books that I read this week, 5 of my top 6 picks are from not Marvel or DC, and it's because those titles deliver that heart, right? Some titles that I left down that maybe I should rank a little bit more, that merit some conversations. I thought Lois Lane #11 was fantastic, that I think Rucka and Perkins worked together to kind of wrap up a book for a kind of a soft landing in #12, which comes out in a couple of weeks. I thought Kelly Thompson and Crew's Deadpool #5 was fantastic. Anytime you see someone kind of say, don't fuck with Jeff the Land Shark by eating him, is good. And then Flash 755 was so good, but I really thought my indie titles really brought the heat this week. If you're not reading any of them, you should pray that when you go to your shop on Wednesday for New Comic Book Day, they have some of these books left behind. So pick them up, hit me up in the comments if you think there's anything that I missed. If there are books that you think I ranked incorrectly, you should check out the definitive rankings post from earlier this week on comicbookposter.com and let me know what you think, what I got right, or more importantly, what you think I got wrong. So as always, thanks for stopping by and have a good one.